Right. So we are now going to move to discuss the characteristics of South Africa's unemployment. Remember, we are still discussing the nature of unemployment. Guys, what you need to understand about the characteristics of South Africa's unemployment is this. Some groups of people in our country, in our economy, have a higher unemployment rate than others. So identifying groups with a high rate of unemployment allows the government to try to change this phenomenon. Therefore, the unemployment rates of people of different genders, races, provinces, and with different educational qualifications are worth comparing in the economy. So what we're going to be looking into here, we're going to look into what makes South Africa's unemployment in terms of gender, in terms of race, in terms of age, in terms of province, and in terms of educational qualifications as well. Are we still together? All right, so we're going to look firstly into gender as a characteristic of South Africa's unemployment, forming part of the nature, because we want to understand the nature of unemployment within the South African economy. So in terms of gender, guys, according to Stats SA, that means Statistics South Africa, more women are unemployed compared to men. The first characteristic you understand in terms of gender is that more women in South African economy or in South Africa as a whole are unemployed compared to men. And I indicated to you that for the purposes of us understanding the rates, we are going to be relying more on the quarterly labor force survey. And it's called quarterly labor force survey because the Stats SA is always monitoring and looking into unemployment on quarterly basis. Financial year has 4 quarters. We have quarter 1, we have quarter 2, quarter 3, and quarter 4. So that's why it's called a quarterly labor force survey. Okay, so the information that we're currently having, because the quarterly labor force survey that is available at the website of the Statistics South Africa between the months of September and October, we are relying on the quarter 2 as the Stats SA has not yet released the quarter 3 report of the quarterly labor force survey. Okay, right. Why do we say that more women are unemployed compared to men in South Africa? The quarter 2 of the quarterly labor force survey for 2024 showed about 36.0% of women are unemployed compared to only 32.4% of men who are unemployed. So you can see the gap, that 36.0% is higher than 32.4%. That means 36.0% of economically active women are unemployed compared to just 32.4% of the economically active men who are unemployed. Are we still together? Right, so then we're going to look into race as the second characteristic that forms part of the nature of unemployment for as a characteristics that makes up the South Africa's unemployment. Unemployment is skewed towards people who were previously disadvantaged. Very important. In terms of race, South Africa just celebrated 30 years into democracy, 30 years into a constitutional dispensation. But before South Africa became a democracy, it went through an apartheid which it experienced division of economic opportunities, division of educational opportunities, division of all these fundamental opportunities that must be afforded to a person based on the race, meaning based on the color of their skin. So majority of people who are unemployed in South Africa because economy was not restructured, the economy was not demolished to be started, or we continued. And unfortunately, those who had acquired economic opportunities and economic powers as well as employment during apartheid era, they continued with their jobs, and those who did not have jobs at the time are still struggling to find jobs because they were previously disadvantaged. So according to the quarter 2 of the quarterly labor force survey, guys, for 2024, only 7.9% of all white South Africans are unemployed compared to 37.6% black or African South Africans who are unemployed. Meaning, when you compare white people with black people, only 7.9% of all whites South Africans are unemployed. But black people, you find, is 37.6% of the black South Africans who are unemployed. Why? Because black or African South Africans were previously disadvantaged. As a result, black people are the ones currently, in terms of the status quo of our economy, black people are more unemployed compared to their white counterparts. Are we still together, guys? Yes. Now we're going to look into the third characteristics of the South African's unemployment as part of its role in the nature of unemployment, in us understanding the root of unemployment in the South African economy. In terms of age, this is what is important for you to understand, that the youth aged between 15 to 34 years of age has the highest unemployment rate. And I think we have discussed this when we're discussing in the topic of the population and the labor force, when we're doing topic of the labor force and the population in term 3. We outline when you're doing the unemployment figures, but what you understand in terms of the age, the youth aged between 15 to 34, meaning the people aged between 15 to 34 in South Africa, has the highest unemployment rate. And how do we determine this? Guys, the quarter 2 of the quarterly labor force survey of 2024 report, it shows that youth aged between 15 to 24 years and 25 to 34 years, meaning all in all it's between 15 to 34, continue to have the highest unemployment rates at 60.8% and 41.7% respectively. Meaning youth aged between 15 to 24, they have the unemployment rate of 60.8%, and those aged between 15 to 34, they have the unemployment rate of 41.7%. That means what? That means the youth aged between 15 to 34 years of age, they have the highest unemployment rate in South Africa, according to the report of the Statistics South Africa. And what report is that? The quarterly labor force survey, in terms of the figures for second quarter or quarter 2 of 2024. Are we still together, guys? Alright, guys. So we are now going to look into the fourth characteristic of South Africa's unemployment, which make us to understand the nature and the root of unemployment within our South African economy. We're going to look into the province. What do we say about provinces as a characteristic of South Africa's unemployment? Guys, the rate of unemployment is higher in some provinces than in others when compared, because South Africa has 9 provinces. As much as we have established during our lesson that the unemployment rate for South Africa during the quarter 2 in terms of the quarterly labor force survey by Statistics South Africa was 33.5%. The 33.5% was unemployment rate for the entire country as a whole. But the rate of unemployment, when we cut it into pieces, is higher in some provinces than in others when compared. Okay? How so? According to the quarter 2 of the quarterly labor force survey, the unemployment rate was higher in the northwest. That means during what? During the quarter 2 of the 2024 in terms of the quarterly labor force survey. The unemployment rate was higher in the Northwest Province at 41.3% and lowest in the Western Cape at 22.2%. That means when we compare unemployment by province to province, we realize that in quarter 2 of the 2024, Northwest had the highest unemployment at what? At 41.3%, meaning 43 41.3% rather of the entire economically active population of the Northwest Province was unemployed during the quarter two of the 2024, while only 22.2% of the total economically active population within the Western Cape Province was unemployed. Are we still together? Great. Then lastly, guys, we're going to look into the fifth characteristic, which is the level of education. The level of education as a characteristic that makes the South Africa's unemployment. How does the level of education make us understand the nature of unemployment and the understanding the root of how is unemployment structured in the South African economy? Guys, this is very important. The more qualified a person is, the less likely he or she is to be unemployed in the South African economy. That is why it is very important for us to educate you, to give you the skills, and then you go to universities, you go to TVET colleges, you go to private institutions or independent institutions of higher learning, the colleges, in order for you to advance your qualifications, to have qualifications, because by the manner in which our economy is currently structured, the lesser educated you are, it's highly unlikely for you to get employed in the current economic climate. But the more educated you are, the less likely it is for you to be unemployed. That means those who are highly educated, they are more likely to be employable. And those with low or no qualifications, they are highly likely to be unemployed. And why do we say this? Why do we say that the more qualified a person is, the less likely he or she is to be unemployed? Guys, according to the quarter two of the quarterly labor force survey for 2024, unemployment rate was at 39.3% for economically active population without matric, meaning for all the total number of economically active population, and we calculated to be at the 25.0%. Okay, those were our economically active population. That means the quarterly labor force survey for quarter two, it says out of the entire total of the economically active population, 39.3% of those who are unemployed, they are without matric. Then at 35.8% for economically active population with matric, they are unemployed. That means those who are without matric, we have 39.3% who are unemployed. For those with matric only, but without any other qualification of the economically active population, they were sitting at 35.8%. And only 9.7% of economically active population who have graduated from institutions of higher learning or universities or colleges, they were unemployed. That means those who graduated out of the total number of unemployed people in terms of the economically active population, only 9.7% were unemployed. But those with matric only, 35.8% of them were unemployed. And those without matric at all, 39.3% of them were unemployed. So this shows you that the more educated you are, the more qualifications that you have, you are less likely to be unemployed, because we have the smallest number of those who are unemployed at 9.7% who have graduated. But those with no matric at all, a whooping 39.3% of them are unemployed. The highest number of those who are unemployed are people without matric. Then the second highest number of those who are unemployed is those with matric only, meaning they managed to pass grade 12 only, but they did not go to further their studies. And their number is whooping at 35.8%. Then those who graduated but are unemployed, they are simply at 9.7%. So you can see the difference between 35.8% and 9.7% is extremely huge. So the more educated you are, the more formally qualified that you are, the more qualifications that you have, the less likeliness for you to be unemployed. Are we still together, guys? If there are any questions, please do forward them, okay?